Good morning, grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender at Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show. It's casual Friday. So we're casually be talking about whatever the hell we want to talk about, right? We got stuff from yesterday. I don't know. We go through results TP. It was weird slates all over the place. So I don't even know what you'd review. The early slate, the mid slate, the turbo slate, the Field of Dreams showdown slate, who knows? There was a 3-game slate at the end. I didn't play that one. I don't know. I took off. I did the 8-game in the early, and then I just said, I'm not going to deal with all this crap, right? But now we got a 14 game today on MLB. We got the preseason showdown, preseason stuff on Saturday. Are you playing preseason DFS NFL? I'm not, but I mean we got stuff. If you're a RotoGrinders premium member, we got some preseason stuff. So click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month of a combo premium subscription. And we got English Premier League EPL soccer. That starts today. It's a showdown today, but there's a big 5-game slate tomorrow. I'll talk about that a little because that's my bread and butter sport. So if you've never played DFS soccer, it's great. It's 2 hours long. It's 10 in the morning tomorrow. Easy sweat, and there's 45 minutes halftime, 45 minutes you're done, right? And all the games are on at the same time. You could get the Peacock and USA, CNBC, NBC Sports Network. It's all on TV, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. A little refresher on how to play, but it's typically all guided. Casual Fridays guided by the guys and girls and whoever in the YouTube chat. So give me those thumbs ups. Give me the thumbs here in the morning, and click the subscribe button if you're new here. Click the notification bell to know when we go live. I see AC to 260, whatever. Sterling Wood, Suki Singh, Michael Dompia, Joe Mack, Jerome Lewis, Doug Montgomery, Matt Mears, Eric Hilpold, Kevin TG, Ronald Coley, Shane Newman, Bluegrass Jeff, who says yeah, we got a new thumbnail apparently, right? Okay, I'm not in charge of the thumbnails, right? A lot of times I don't even know what even is on the thumbnail, right? I do shows. I don't even know what the name of the show is, but apparently they like the new thumbnail. We got Daniel Hutchins here, Bluegrass Jeff, Andrew Garcia, Brian C, whole bunch of stuff. DJ A Dog. Let's see. Bluegrass Jeff finished 3rd in a single entry yesterday with his Arizona stack. Okay. It turns out, I mean, I didn't play that 3-game slate, but basically the three favorite pitchers all lost, right? If you stacked against the 3 most popular pitchers, you did fine. And he played Logan Webb instead. But that's what you should be doing on a 3-game slate. Right? Typically on the really little slates, 3-4 games, I'm like, okay, who are the most owned pitchers? Like I'm stacking against them. And just like, I'll just keep on doing that. And one of these days it'll hit. Right? Instead of playing 70-80% owned pitchers. Yeah, you're going to lose most of the time. Right. But when you win a lot. And it happens more often than you think. So congratulations. I saw someone tweeted at me. They won the 70,000 or something. They won with a single bullet. They won multiple large field with one lineup. You could do it with one lineup. Why not? Right. Daniel says Arizona was way under-owned in the 3-game slate. Right. Exactly. You play the under-owned teams. Like in the early slate, Marco Gonzalez was like super chalk, so I played the Rangers against him. And then Marco Gonzalez puts up 40 points, so that didn't work out, right? But it's likely not to work out. but I didn't play all Rangers lineups. I played Range. I had 6 lineups. I played Rangers in 2 of them, right? And I played Marco Gonzalez in the other 4 lineups. So it's not like, yeah, but the Rangers were 1% owned on the slate where Marco Gonzalez is going to be 40+%. So that's the easier path for me to win first place. It turns out that Woodruff was the one that you didn't stack against him, but you played Bassett over Woodruff because Woodruff was walking like 17 guys yesterday. But the small slates, like the 8 gamers, you could avoid not stacking against like an ace. But a 3 gamer just took it. Oh, this is the best pitcher play open, and then so. Especially when the other team is cheap and they don't have, and they're going to be extremely low owned for the fact that there's only 6 teams on the slate. What do we have on today's slate? Jesus Luzardo, is he going to be the chalk? Is he going to be the thing? According to the bat projections, he's the highest raw point pitcher over Wheeler as of right now. Who knows? That may change. Adbert Azalea, is the Miami-Chicago game going to be a thing? Okay, they're playing at Miami, and these teams are awful, right? The Cubs are awful. The Marlins are awful. The total is low. So is that going to be the chalk? Possibly. Zach Wheeler, if you want to spend up, Zach Wheeler, Robbie Ray, 9,200 at Seattle. That looks good. Blake Snell, 8,400. We got pitchers this slate. Yeah. Julio Urias. Jack Flaherty is back. And Jack Flaherty pitched like 75 pitches in like 4 innings in his like rehab. So he should be pretty close. He'd be 90 pitches. He should be fine. Charlie Morton. Yeah, we got some pitchers up in this slate. Even if we want to go down to like McGill or Molly, they don't project as well, point per dollar or anything. No, we got pitchers on the slate. What do we got for hitters though? So I'm gonna go to the bat stack projections page. See what's going on. Like it's hard to talk about today's slate because none of the lineups are out. All right, who knows if these pitchers are even pitching? We don't know. Or yeah, because they didn't price the Orioles up still. They priced them down. Right, the Orioles, Santander and Hayes and all those guys are still too cheap. Cleveland against Tyler Alexander as a point per dollar play, but the ceiling wise, they show up pretty high. A lot of times you get these really cheap teams that like project well at point per dollar, but like ceiling wise, they're like the Rangers. Like the Rangers are really cheap, right? So point per dollar wise, they're not Royals. They're not bad, but their ceilings are suspect. 74s versus up here in the 90s. So Boston against Spencer Watkins, Braves against Josiah Gray, Tampa against Pineda, Dodgers against McGill. People may not go there. Brewers against Keller. Yeah, there may not be overwhelming chalk. I think the Orioles. I think those guys will be owned. There may not be any overwhelming chalk on tonight, so there's nothing that like you got to play them. It'll be spread out a bit, which to me makes it harder. People think in terms of when the ownership is spread out, that means I don't have to care about ownership. Well, that's a bad thing, right? If there's no condense of ownership, that means the ownership is more efficient, right? So when the ownership is more efficient, it's less of an edge for you to exploit it. So to me, when it's one of those slates where everything's going to be spread out, like those are the slates that I don't like. I like it when there's like 1 or 2 teams that's going to gain like twice as much ownership than they should, because then you just move aside and you could create so many more plus EV lineups with all the other teams. But when everything is spread out, when everything the top owned team is going to be 10%. It's like, well, maybe they should be 10%, and this other team should be 7%, and this other team should be 4%. And it's like, well, where's the inefficiency there? I want one team to be overowned. I want 2 teams to be over. I want a pitcher to be overowned. Right? I take a look at these pitchers and I go, I want Zach Wheeler to be 45% this slate. Doesn't mean I'm going to stack against him. It just means that the other pitchers are going to be lower owned than they should be. Is Sclafani going to be 18% owned this slate? I don't know about that. Right? That's why you can't even go by these numbers yet. None of the lineups are out. It's 11 in the morning. That's why people show up on YouTube. It's like, what's your takes on the slate? I don't know. I don't even know what the hell's going on yet. Typically, I'm reviewing yesterday's slate at this point, right? I'm not building lineups until 6 o'clock at night. So I have no idea. I could just look at that first look. It's like, okay, I get a sense. Condensed around a couple of these pitchers. Maybe Urias is the move. Right? So many people are going to play Ray. People are going to pay up for Wheeler, and then Urias is sitting there against the Mets. Yeah, he projects lower. But for the difference in the ownership, maybe it's worth it. Maybe you play Blake Snell. Is he going to be only 9% owned? The 7 strikeout prop and having a good game last game? I think maybe he'll be higher. Maybe take a shot on Flaherty. They're pictures. There's going to be some condensement of, like, especially like those Luzardo at 6,700. If he stays up there and he becomes owned, that may be the move. Play the Cubs. What do the Cubs project for? Probably horrible. Yeah, 7, horrible. The Cubs are awful. Is Contreras even going to be in the lineup? Let's take a look at that game. Right, look at these totals. Cubs, Marlins. Is Frank Schwindel going to be batting cleanup for the Cubs? Look how awful this lineup is. Bodie, Duffy, Wisdom, Schwindel, Happ, Ortega, Chirinos, Romine. It's like maybe 3 major league players in that lineup. Then you look over here and Lewis Brinson is batting cleanup. And then, yeah, he's actually had some home runs recently. This lineup is god-awful. Ison Diaz is batting 3rd. Right, you got Aguilar, okay. Miguel Rojas is a serviceable hitter. Brian Anderson, serviceable. Like, they need to play Alfaro and Leon. And McNeary Sierra is like 700% strikeout rate. Yeah, but we're going to go like, oh, people are going to play the pitchers in this game. And this game will be like 10-9. There's a percent chance that happens. I don't think. So we're playing on a 14-game slate, maybe. If anything, I want to see who's more owned and play the stack against them, or play the 3-man or something against them, if anything. But I get why these pitchers may be popular. Look at these. Look at the lineups. These are awful lineups. Let's look in the YouTube chat. Daniel Hutchins won last night. Nerdy Tanner managed to win the 333 night slate, 270 man, despite getting 1.6 points from Herman Marquez, 2 points from Machado, and 4 points from Marte. And because he played Arizona, all right, and that's the power of leverage, right? They're right. In the small field, you don't even have to be perfect. You knock out some 70% owned pitcher and leverage against that, and then you're good. You're good. There you go. You're done. Right? What did that look like? Let's take a look. Is it up? Is yesterday's up? Oh, we got the classic 3-game contest. 333. Here we go. Right. There you go. 20,000. Arizona, 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 Arizona. Right? Who faced Arizona yesterday? What was it? Darvish? Was Darvish pitching against Arizona? Who pitched against Arizona? Right? Was it Marquez versus Marquez faced what? San Francisco? Right. Well, Berrios got killed, right? Berrios got killed. Yeah, Darvish -2, right? Right, we can see here, look, 11th place had like Darvish in it, but you take a look at Arizona. 2% Peralta, 4% Pavin Smith, 8% Rojas, 14% Carson Kelly. I mean, like, for a 3-game slate, this is low ownership. Cronenworth and Machado, look at this. 66 and 57% owned. I mean, it's nuts so, but these are the small slates like this. Look how low the scoring was. Win the low scoring slates. He also came in 4th. Right, with Arizona. Ohtani, Webb, Arizona 5-man. Chris Bryant 0. Stories 2. Yeah, what else do you need? You needed positive points out of your pitchers. In Arizona. And there you go. You're done. What did Forsaken do? See, Darvish, see, look at all these Darvish lineups that are down there. But look how chalky this is. Look at this is just for a 3-game slate. Darvish, Webb, 64%. And look at the San Diego stack was like mega owned. Doesn't mean play. You don't play Peacock or whoever pitched for the Diamondbacks. They rolled out a bullpen game, so you couldn't play like the pitchers. Well, look, Lamont Wade was 34% owner. Yeah, he got 18 points. Cronenworth got 16 points at 66%. So I mean, that's still fine. But in these small slates, I'm way more likely to play lineups like this. Way more likely. You don't have to be perfect, right? Kettle Marte got 4 points in the stack at 11%. Oh, it still didn't matter. Look, it still didn't matter. So there you go. More money for Nerdy Tenor. That's just what we need. We're not getting that money back. DJA Dog 3K, if you're playing college football, which allows you to play 2 quarterbacks, is there ever a scenario you wouldn't double stack? Well, I mean, there has to be a scenario where you wouldn't. I don't play college football DFS. I don't know the nuances of that, but I would think you lean more likely to double if you're allowed to play 2 quarterbacks. I would assume that I'm assuming that you're going to play a pass catcher from both of those teams. I'm going to assume. Unless it's one of those quarterbacks that, like, the option guys, they rush for 500 yards in a game. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we say the same in the NFL with like a Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray or the Josh Allen. Where it's not as necessary, no. Obviously, I would lean towards that. Is there ever a scenario? Of course, there has to be a scenario, depending on what the lineup looked like, what the contest is. Like in cash games, you don't need to because you're not aiming for ceiling. But is there ever a scenario? Yeah, there has to be at some point. It's Casual Friday. I don't mind the casual questions. I don't know. I've never gotten a college football DFS question. I'm assuming it's the same score. And does DraftKings have Superflex? Is that what we play for NCAA college football on DraftKings? Is it Superflex? Should be Superflex for NFL. That would be better. Give us Superflex, but as the main format. Not as like, oh, we're going to make some side contest and have a $5,000 prize. I don't care about that. Okay, so going through. We got the baseball slate. I don't know, we're not going to know. We don't know until lineups come out. So I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing to go by. Even the ownership, like who's going to be popular hitter wise. Indians, Ramirez, Bogarts, Yelich, Lowe, Boston. It looks like Boston, but that's as of right now. Like, who knows? I can't decide this. Then the lineups aren't even out. I think Baltimore is more owned than this. I'm so cheap, but we'll see. That's why tomorrow you play EPL soccer. You wake up. You're normally waking up this early, right? You're here for the DFS pregame show at 11 o'clock in the morning. All you have to do is wake up a little bit earlier, right? Wake up at 9 in the morning Eastern, okay, and play EPL soccer DFS. It's a 5-game slate tomorrow. And look, if you sign up for RotoGrinders Combo Premium, which you can click on a link in the description and get $10 off your first month, you get the lineup HQ stuff with the tags. We don't have like written content. We have everything with the tags for EPL, for Premier League and Champions League. So you can see like who, especially this, who's on set pieces. A lot of DFS soccer on DraftKings is focused very heavily on the players that take set pieces, that take the free kicks, that take the corner kicks. Because the DraftKings scoring system awards crosses, chances created, which they call shots assisted, and shots on goal. And a lot of that, especially in the Premier League, comes from set plays where after a foul, after the ball is over the end line for a corner kick, right? And typically, most teams have one or two, depending on the side of the field, players that are responsible for taking, that have set piece responsibility. So that adds to their floor and adds to their ceiling as well, because those free kicks lead to goals. I mean, they can. That's the whole purpose of it. So someone that's taking corners is going to be automatically getting 0.7 points for the cross, right? And if it hits the head, if it, the guy goes up, a forward or a central defender or whoever in the box tries to head the ball into goal, well, that was a chance created. So now the guy that took the corner kick gets 0.7 for the cross and 1 point for the chance created. And if the ball goes in the net, well, he gets 6 points for the assist, right? And those plays happen often enough. So a favored team that's going to have a lot of possession may end up with 10, 15, 20 set piece opportunities, or at least free kicks or something. Sometimes it's a free kick. Sometimes it's in the middle, right? It's 26 yards from goal in the center where a foul gets committed, and then whoever takes free kicks is going to try to get it over that wall. I mean, they set up that wall and they try to bend it over. But even if he misses, that's a shot. That's a point, right? You're getting that. Even if it hits the wall, that's a shot. If it gets saved, that's a shot on goal. You get another point for that, right? So you could add up these points even without scoring goals and assists. The guys that are up top, the center forwards, typically don't have very high floors. They have the most likelihood of scoring a goal in comparison to other players on the field, but they don't do much else. So you'll get some shot. You may have a center forward that in a game where he doesn't score, have like 4 shots, 2 on goal, 1 chance created or something like that. Maybe he's getting 6 or 7 points. Maybe sometimes they're sitting there with 1 or 2 points. Yeah, but they're also the most likely to get 2 goals, right? They're sitting there now with 26, 28 points. So most of it, especially if you're playing cash games, you're building your lineup primarily around set piece takers, but even in GPPs, not all of them, you're trying to pair these guys together with other players on the team, right? So you have 5 games on the slate, and you're trying to okay, I'm going to take 3 guys from Everton and pair, the set piece taker, a forward, and another player. You hope the game is 3-0 and all 3 guys get assists and goals and peripheral points and stuff like that. That's what soccer is built around. So that's why if you get RotoGrinders Premium, you'll know who the set piece takers are. But I mean, if you have followed the league, you'll know that anyway, right? You could also go to whoscored.com and you could see they have the match stats of all the past matches, and you can see who took corners. How many corners, how many free kicks, how many anything, how many crosses across the field, all the heat maps if you want. Because the formations matter also. So that's why SofaScore, if you go to SofaScore, it's an app. You can go to the website. So the one thing about soccer is that the starting lineups don't come out until 1 hour before kickoff. Okay? We could try to predict what the possible starting lineup is. And especially for the bigger teams, they have a large squad, so they do rotate players often. So it's not the type they may have 18 good players. And they may not start all the games because they have midweek games. It's rest. It's going to be a long campaign. Now, for teams like Burnley and Brighton, they aren't big teams. They aren't playing in Europe or anything like that. Then their lineups may be a little bit more consistent. Right, so we take a look at Burnley. This is the lowest total game on the slate. So on Burnley, Ashley Westwood and Dwight McNeil kind of take their set pieces. For DraftKings scoring, wide players are typically worth more than central players because of crossing. You can't really cross from the middle of the field. It's not a crossing area, and you cross to the center, right? To one of these two guys, right? To try to head the ball in or something. So typically the wide players, the wide defensive players, the wingers are the ones that are more, have higher floors than the central players. So we take a look at the other side, here's their predicted possible formations. So you can see here the least valuable players on DraftKings scoring are the center backs, the central defenders, and central defensive midfielders. Now, Ashley Westwood apparently still takes corner kicks, so he'll get some more, but for the most part, it's more likely to be deeper, not get forward as much. And you don't get many points for defensive stats on DraftKings. But typically, the guys that are defensive midfielders and central defenders are cheap. Their salaries are low. And every once in a while, they'll show up with a goal. Every once in a while, especially on set pieces, like these center backs, the tallest players on the team. So when that corner kick is happening on the other side of the field, they go forward. And they try to head the ball in. But, these guys don't score that often, even on that. Like you may have a central defender. There's 38 games in the season, and the top central defender goal scorer has like 6 goals. I'm talking about for the league, right? So most of the time, these guys don't pay up, but they're cheap, and they can still get a clean sheet bonus. But then you take a look at Brighton, for instance. Oh, different formation. This is Burnley's very classic 4-4-2. Brighton plays more of a 3-4-3. So you can see here now they're playing with pretty much 3 center backs, right? But these would be wing backs. So instead of fullbacks, like Charlie Taylor, Matthew Lowton over here, Mwepu and March, more like wing backs. Because they have 3 guys behind them versus 2, while they'll still have some defensive responsibility to track back, they'll have a lot more freedom and go forward, right? And then you have the central defenders, the central midfielders here, and then you got 1 center forward and 2 kind of attacking inside forwards, kind of semi wingers, right? This is typically how Brighton lines up, and you have like Everton, because you could check these when an hour before lock, these lineups will come out, and SofaScore will have from Opta the formation. Now, a lot of times the first one that they post is not necessarily the most is accurate. You'll see sometimes SofaScore it'll be 9:01 Eastern, and you'll see like, oh, the central defender, the guy Ben Godfrey will be in that spot, and you're like, there's no way Ben Godfrey is playing as a attacking right winger, right? He's a central defender. It's like so you wait a couple of minutes and it switches, right? So if you see anything like out of the ordinary, that'll happen. But this is a 4-2-3-1. So you have 2 fullbacks over here, defender eligible. You have 2 defensive or at least deep lying midfielders. They have 3 attacking midfielders, 2 out wide, 1 in the center, and then a center forward. Right? So the guys that are more valuable here are Dean, Townsend, Coleman, Iwobi, and then Gray. And obviously Richarlison, obviously center forward is valuable, but has less of a floor. And then for Everton, Lucas Dean, because James is out, James Rodriguez, who's just announced that he's not going to play, he would have been in this spot where Damari Gray is. So Lucas Dean is probably going to take all the set pieces for Everton, which is the reason why he's listed as a core play on for Free My Turtle. Right, if he's going to take a monopoly of set pieces, right? You'll see in the projections. The thing about soccer is that the projections are very, very soccer is a traditionally low scoring sport. So it's not like you're going to get these 5-3 games. Occasionally that happens. So a lot of this median projection, especially for the attacking, like the forwards, are very goal dependent. Like they're not going to score that median. If we take a look at the forwards on this slate, by raw points. Like Timo Werner, Jamie Vardy, Richarlison, Sarr, Calvert-Lewin. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is rarely ever going to score 10 points as an outcome. He's going to score 4 or he's going to score 18, right? A lot of this projection is built on the goal scoring odds. He's going to score maybe 45% of the time this game. 45, right. He's probably like plus 180, man, 40-ish percent of the time, probably plus 180 or so to score. And a goal is 10 points plus the shot on goals. That's 12 total. So 40% of the time he scores 12. Right? How much is 40% of the time? That's like five of these points are just on that, does he score a goal? Does he not score a goal? Right? If he scores 2 goals, so like more than half of the score is the goal odds. So when you see Jamie Vardy at 12 for Leicester up here, it's like, oh, well, no, he's one of the best players on the slate, right? Point per dollar. What? Like, no, I'd much rather take Dwight McNeil, Pascal Gross, Andros Townsend, like for a floor than Jamie Vardy, even though they project worse. If you just optimize based on this and you go, oh, I'm going to play this as a cash lineup, I'm like, good luck. Right? You take a look at this, like you're going to go into double ups and half these players won't even be in people's lineups if you just play by the median projection. I mean, I just take a look at this, and it'd be laughable to have Richarlison, Sarr, Calvert-Lewin. Even Werner is even a reach. I think on this slate with James out, I think Werner's going to be Werner. I get why you're going to be playing in cash games. So, like, going by the median projection in soccer, they're too variant. I mean, imagine football. If they only play 2 quarters, so like the peripherals go down and we overweighted touchdowns. Right? Picture NFL DFS, but instead of touchdowns being worth 6 points, touchdowns being worth 12 points. So it's like, oh, well, I could roster any 3 of these Cowboys wide receivers, and they're all going to project well. Like, but only one of them is going to score. I mean, only one of them is going to score a touchdown at a time. So that's how I have to view it. For GPP, that's fine. And when you're playing cash, especially if you're playing cash games, or you're trying to build lineups that have some amount of peripheral floor. Like for GPPs, my GPP lineups don't look all that much different from my cash lineups. Maybe a 3v3 or something like that. Like my cash lineup, like for instance, a dummy cash lineup for this slate would look something like let's see. Put Mendy, let's put Dean, let's put Bertrand. Because I'm probably going to play all positions. Werner, Ward-Prowse. Let's see, what do we got left? 6,000. Maybe play Gross. Let's see how this all fits in. Martinho. How much do we have? 5,500 left? Maybe this. Okay, I'm just plugging it in. It's probably not going to be it, but whatever. That's what a cash lineup, kind of a cash lineup would look like. Right? They're pretty much set piece take. Gross is a set piece taker. Ward-Prowse, Martinho set piece taker. Dean, Bertrand, Luza. Who knows what Watford's going to do? But if he could be taking their set pieces, Mendy is the highest favored goalkeeper. Like, so this would be like this would be a cash type lineup. If you're playing 100-man, this could even be good enough to win a 100-man contest. It's a little bit different enough. In a little higher 200 to 300 person contest, I could switch out like one of these guys and be fine. Large field, maybe you're not playing this exact type of lineup, right? Try to correlate a little bit more, right? If I'm playing Chelsea's goalkeeper, maybe, Reece James, both their fullbacks are going to be fairly popular also. But let's say I play Ben Chilwell, Lucas Digne should be popular, right? So maybe I don't play Digne and I play Chilwell. And instead of playing Werner, I play Havertz, who's another forward. I mean, I'm assuming Havertz is going to be in. Havertz, right? He doesn't project as well because he's probably not going to play 90. But if Werner's going to be popular and Dean is going to be popular, like if Werner doesn't score, maybe Havertz scores for Chelsea, right? So you build a lineup like that. And you pair the Chelsea goalkeeper with the Chelsea defender to get the, both will get the clean sheet bonus at the same time. If the game's, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, right? Got 5,200. Maybe I don't play Gross. Maybe since I'm not playing Dean, I'm going to play Calvert-Lewin. Same team, Everton, right? It'll be less popular. And then I pair him up with Townsend. How much is Townsend? 7,300. Okay, that's a little too expensive. Or I play Coleman, right? The other defender, right? So I play 3 defenders. I still play Bertrand. I have 800 left. Still play Ward-Prowse. I could still do that. And what do we have? We have what? For 6,500? Who could we play in midfield for 6,500? As a solo. Che Adams. Trincao. We could play what? We play Sarr. Right? We're not playing any Aston Villa, right? We could do something like, okay. So there you go. So this could be a GPP lineup. Right. I'm still playing Bertrand, still playing Ward-Prowse. Right. This would be more of a large field type of GPP lineup. Or you could decide to say, I'm gonna screw this. I'm gonna play all the Everton, right? You could do something like if Calvert-Lewin is in, maybe you play Townsend if he starts, assuming that. And you play Dean, Lucas Digne, and you play Coleman. And since you're going to play both of their defenders, you're going to play for Everton wins 4-0. So you're going to play Jordan Pickford in goal because they're correlated with one another. Right? The goalkeepers, if it's a shutout, a clean sheet, they don't give up any points. Pickford's going to get the win plus the 5-point clean sheet bonus. And when that happens, Coleman gets an extra 3 and Lucas Digne gets an extra 3. The defenders do. So I'm kind of like stacking up this game. So I basically want Calvert-Lewin, assuming he starts, and maybe Richarlison, who knows. I want the goals and assists, right? I want Townsend to assist on Calvert-Lewin has a hat trick, right? He has 3 goals and 1 assist from Townsend, 1 assist from Coleman, and 1 assist from Dean, right? And there you go. Ceilings. Right? Then you play Southampton on the other side, right? Ward-Prowse is their set piece taking whatever. Everton's going to be down, so that means Southampton has to push even more. So Ward-Prowse is going to be crossing a lot more. So this is kind of like a game stack type of thing. And then you fill out the lineups with the best play. Then whoever fits. That projects well, right? Right? You play Martini, you play some set piece taker, right? You play Martino and Gross. There you go. That'll fit. There. That's a GPP line. There's a million different ways you could go. I'm just the thought process. You could play some of these stacking lineups. You could play ones where you're going for cheap goal. You pay up for peripherals. For instance, like if Mount starts, and if he's going to take all their set pieces, but I'm not sure. Maybe you pay up at all 3 midfield spots because not many people are going to do that, right? So you pay up for Mount, Buendia, and Ward-Prowse, and now you have to find some cheap forwards. You hope to find some cheap goals, right? So you look at forward and you go, okay, can someone score up here for really cheap? Hopefully, someone that is paired with one of these guys. Southampton, how much is Ings? Ings probably isn't that cheap. 7,300. You pair Ward-Prowse with Ings. You pair up Buendia. I don't think Watkins is going to start. He may be out. So I don't know who Aston Villa is going to have up there, but maybe play Ings. He's not going to be as owned, right? 7,300 is not that cheap. Maybe you have a cheap Aaron Connolly, 3,700 for Brighton. You play a very cheap forward. Hopefully he may get a goal. At least he plays forward. Now you don't have that much money left. Now you're going to pay down. Like now you're not playing any Everton. Like right here, you don't have Dean. You're probably going to play Bertrand is probably the kind of the best play of the whole slate. He's going to take all of Leicester's set pieces. Right. And then you pay down a goalkeeper. You're like, okay, well, I don't have any Everton. So maybe Southampton actually shuts them out or something. Then you go McCarthy. Put that there. So now you're leveraged by playing Southampton and no Everton. You're leveraged against all the people that are playing like Lucas Digne and Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, whoever's there. They have 5,100 left. $5,100 left at defender. And you fill that in. I believe like Perot, right? You correlate. Perot should be 5,100, I believe. I think he's overpriced. But there you go. So you have correlation between the goalkeeper and the defender. There you go. That could be a GPP lineup also, right? A lot of different ways to make these combinations, especially in a 5-game slate. You see, I'm not going drastically. I'm still playing set piece takers, right? Mount, Buendia, Ward-Prowse, Bertrand. These guys are like Bertrand and Ward-Prowse are going to be mega owned. Mount will be popular. Buendia, I don't know, because they're just a weird price, the combination on this slate. Like you don't have to just fade your entire cash line if you're playing cash. And also, you're probably not stacking 6 guys from a team, right? I see that mistake. Oh, Chelsea's the biggest favorite. I'm going to play Havertz, Werner, Mount, Chilwell, James, Mendy, and then have 2 spots that have like 3K left, right? And just punt in 2 spots. It's like good luck. Yeah, that'll work if they score 6 goals. Sure, okay. How often does that happen? Not often. Johnny Ortiz asks, what is a good over-under for a soccer game? Typically, the median is like 2.5. So 2.5 would be the norm, kind of around the norm, 2.5. So if you see a 3, that's a higher scoring game. You see a 2 or leaning, or at least the money goes to a 2. So like in these games that are happening tomorrow, like there's no game that's over a 3. There's none on this slate. Crystal Palace, Chelsea's has the highest implied goal total with 2. That's it. So this game's a 2.5. Leaning more towards over 2.7 or something like that. And the Burnley-Brighton game has a total of 2, which is low. Leaning towards even under that, right? 1.9. And once we get to Champions League, if you play during the week, when they start the European competitions, then you may see some totals that are 3.5, 3.5. We may have 6 games that 5 of them have over 3 totals. So they're more high scoring than the domestic leagues. So yeah, 2.5 is median. You're not going to find totals 4, 5, 6. You're never going to find that. You may find some 4s in Champions League. You may find some 4s. It's PSG versus whoever qualified out of Denmark. You know, like that type of, right? The lowest seeded team, and it's PSG, so they have Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, right? Bayern versus, you may see 4s, and anything over that you'll never see unless it's international qualifying competitions, not the club teams, the national teams, where it's like, oh, it's France versus Cyprus, right? It's France, it's England versus Malta, right? Some like small island, and the total 7. And it's not 7 because the game's going to be like 4-3. It's 7 because it's expected that England's going to beat them 7-0, right? But you don't see that in the club. You're not going to see that in the Premier League. You may see 1 for the entire season, and it'll probably be like Man City or Liverpool versus whoever the lowest team in the league is. Even then, it probably barely would be 4, be like 3 3/4. Then sometimes you see like 1 3/4. Sometimes, like that Burnley Brighton, that's towards the bottom. But hey, Burnley Brighton could still be a 2-2 game. It could end up being that. It all comes down. A lot of this all comes down to when the first goal is scored. The longer it goes without a goal, the more likely it sticks to whatever the kind of expected game script is. But like if the underdog scores like early in a game, especially if they're away, they're most likely going to lock down, right? So now the favorite team is going to be allowed to have a lot more possession. So if you're playing the underdog, you have the underdog set piece taker. You'd rather them be behind, truthfully. And if the favored team scores first, that may not change all that much. But if they score twice early, well, that means that the underdog team or whoever's behind by 2 goals can't play as defensively. So now the game starts opening up, right? So once the first goal gets scored, the game starts opening up. So if that first goal doesn't get scored till the 71st minute, who knows how much open play value the game is. But if it gets scored early, so that it could change everything, right? This Burnley-Brighton game. Burnley's content on sitting back. That's how they play. We're going to sit back, allow you to have all the possession. You could cross as many times as you want. We're just going to pack the box, park the bus, and play for a 1-0 win. They're going to counter. They're going to get a set piece. They're going to try to win that way. You score in Burnley did 3 minutes in. Well, they can't just do that the whole game. They're already down by 1 goal. So it could change everything. It's very similar to NFL. Oh, this team's favored and blah, blah. This is what should happen. Third play of the game, there's a fumble and run back for a touchdown. Now, one team's already down by a touchdown 2 minutes into the game. And then there's an interception, and then there's a blocked punt, and then something. Oh, now they're down 2 touchdowns. Well, but I thought this team was going to, like, it changes everything. So it's very similar in soccer. Alex Santi, if you see a 2, which is a total of 2, do certain positions get elevated? Well, obviously the defensive positions. As far as clean sheets, goalkeepers, clean sheets. Obviously the ceilings of the forwards go down, but you could already see that with the anytime goal scoring. You could look on a sports book. Most sports books have what's called anytime goal scoring. And just look at the forwards of those teams. It'll say plus 145, plus 185, plus 215. Typically corresponds somewhat with the total. But yeah, like the Brighton Burnley game tomorrow is probably not the game that's most likely the one that you play 4 guys from. From a peripheral perspective, the players could still score a good amount of points. But from a ceiling perspective, goals and assists, it's going to be lower. So like it's possible in this Burnley Brighton game, if these are the lineups, like Chris Wood and Neil Maupay, like have lower ceilings because it's predicted that there'll be less scoring in this game. Right? Which also means that the ownership of these players goes down. Okay. So it's not just, oh, you don't play these guys. It's like, well, what happens if they're 2% owned? Well, they've still have more than 2% shot at scoring a goal or 2, even in the lowest scoring game. So yeah, you have to compare that to ownership. But it doesn't mean that these Brighton players can't score points. Solly March could have 12 crosses this game. 4 chances created, 2 shots on goal. I mean, he could. Solly March could maybe get 16 points without a goal or assist. Pascal Gross could have double-digit points, right? Some of these guys, Trossard, Mwepu, if he's a defender eligible, I don't think he is. Plus the clean sheet, right? You know, like if he was defender eligible here, I'm not sure if he is. He could end up with 5 crosses, 2 chances created. He's sitting there with, 8 points for fairly cheap. The people can still score points peripheral wise. Their ceiling as far as goals and assists may be lower. There are plenty of times that I've done extremely well in GPPs, or especially in small field, with like 1 goal in my life. Right? The entire slate, not 10 goals get scored. I only have 1 of them in my lineup, and I still win. Depends on who scores the goal. We have substitutes that come on and score. Like one of these center backs score, and like no one has them. Right, especially the underdogs, right? Like if Crystal Palace, right? Crystal Palace will be the lowest owned team on the slate because the biggest underdog. Right, if Coyote, right, one of their center backs scores a goal, you may not even worry about it. It'll be less than 1% owned. So maybe no one, then you're not going to need it. You don't even have to worry about it. Johnny Ortiz, that's why on FanDuel, these terrible scoring teams have their defensive players priced up. Yes, I'm completely talking about DraftKings scoring. FanDuel is completely different. If you're playing on FanDuel, ignore everything that I've said. FanDuel and DraftKings are absolutely and utterly different for DFS soccer. I'm just talking DraftKings. FanDuel, there's no crosses, there's no shots unless it's on goal, and they weight defensive stats too much. So a lot of times the best defensive players are the ones that are on the worst teams because they're going to clear more shots, more shot attempts and cross attempts, which makes no sense. Their team could give up, Crystal Palace could possibly give up 4 goals, and Coyote could be the highest scoring defender on the entire slate. How does that make, without scoring a goal? 14 clearances, 4 tackles, 1 because the team is constantly going to be having to be defending. Right? That's the point. DraftKings doesn't award those statistics. It's really the defenders, a tackle 1 here and there, pass interception, which is a half a point here and there, and then clean sheet. Like the clean sheet for these center defenders, without the clean sheet, a lot of times, because they get minus points for fouls, for cards and stuff. A lot of times they're sitting there with 1 point. That's it. If they get the clean sheet, that's 4 now. Oh, okay. That's why they're priced so low. Right. If you're playing on FanDuel, it's completely different. I think the FanDuel soccer product is awful. That's why I don't play it. Eric Hillpold, what is a clean sheet? A shutout. Meaning that the team has given up 0 goals. Because in soccer, soccer is as old as baseball. So we use the same type of terms. A clean sheet, they used to have score sheets, like a piece of paper that they write down who scored the goals. So if your sheet is clean, right, you kept a clean sheet. It's blank, which means you've given up no goals, shutout. So that's what that means. So on DraftKings, you get a bonus. The goalkeepers get 5 points, and the defender eligible players that have played at least 60 minutes in the game get 3 points, which means they're correlated to each other. Which is why in almost every soccer lineup that I play in GPP, I will have a defender and a goalkeeper together. You could play 2 defenders and a goalkeeper together, but I make it a point to do that because I'm aiming for ceiling scores. So why not take that extra correlation? A lot of times I'm playing a goalkeeper, defender, and a forward, hoping that a fullback, not a central defender, a fullback, a wide defender, hoping that the wide defender crosses it to the forward. So a lot of times, you know, if I'm going to play, let's see. Let's take a look at who? Wolves. That's it. Let's take a look at Wolves. If I were to play Raul Jimenez up top, Jose Sa, I would play like Semedo, assuming he's in, right? They don't project all that well, the Wolves, but something like this. Semedo plays wide. We see on Wolves starting lineup. Well, that could be projected, right? Semedo and Marcal, right? So what I want is these wide guys are the ones that cross the ball the most, that get forward and do stuff. So I want Semedo to cross the ball to Jimenez, and Jimenez puts it in. And the game is 1-0, or maybe he does that twice, hopefully, right? It's 1-0. So Jose Sa gets the clean sheet and the win. So he's sitting there with 10 points plus his saves. Semedo gets another 3, and that's all correlated with one another because the win points for the goalkeeper are correlated to goal points from the forwards. The more goals that Jimenez score, the more likely Jose Sa is winning and gets the 5-point win bonus. So you see, I want to correlate everything together. They're not 0.9 correlations, but they're strong correlations. So a lot of times I'm building like this. Or maybe, and if you want to stack even more, you're playing like you're doing like Trincao, right? You do something like that. You go, I want this game to be 3-0, and here are where the goals come from. Semedo to Jimenez, Trincao to Jimenez, and then Trincao by himself, right? And these are the guys, right? And then you fill out the rest. You're kind of picking teams, but you're not stacked. Like you never do that. You rarely ever do this. Right? You're rarely ever going to be doing stuff like this. Where's Marcal? Is Marcal going to start? Is Alt Nuri going to start? Where are these guys? Hover can start. Right. We have Hover in. Like you're rarely ever going to do this because you obviously have to play 3 teams. So the most you could play in your lineup is 6. But you're rarely ever doing anything like, oh, I'm just taking 6 guys from a team. It's going to be very. How are you winning a GPP unless they score so many goals? Because you're going to have some of these guys that are going to sit there if they're not involved in goals or assists. They're going to be sitting there with like Trincao could have what 6 points. Well, I mean, yeah, that's not bad, but someone's going to outscore him at 6,400. You're going to rather him not here, especially on a 5-game slate. It's just like any other sport. 2-game slate. This is more viable because there's only so many options. So I'm going to stack a team and hope for the best. 5-game slate, 8-game slate. Like, dude, soccer doesn't have this many goals in it. Often. Probably not from Wolves, though. But I mean, you're rarely ever going to see 6 from one team be in the winning GPP line. Rarely. In a domestic league game. Even Man City, I've stacked Man City before. And even then, I think I stacked them and I had 5 of them when I won the high stakes GPP that week. I think I played 5. And I also think that was a 2-game slate or a 3-game slate anyway. It all depends on the size of the slate. Man City is more likely to put up 6 goals in a game than Wolves are. And then you have a 2 or 3-game slate, and who else do you play? There's like, I'm just going to play all of them. I just hope everything goes through everything. And anyone that played anyone from the other side, for other games, wouldn't have mattered. Well, that's what I did that slate. But on a 5-game slate, even if Man City was on this slate against the worst team in the league, I still wouldn't play 6 of them. DJA Dog 3K. Do you think showdowns will have softer action than classic slates? I'm intrigued, but you always talk about how sharp the Saki lobber is, which makes it leery to play. The cash lobby is sharp. I didn't say anything about about GPPs. You're playing GPPs, good luck. Go. There's plenty of bad lineups in GPPs. Tons of bad line. There are tons of bad lineups in the soccer GPPs. If you're playing $5 and up double ups, you're playing $5 and up head to heads. I think it's the sharpest lobby in all of DraftKings. I don't know what goes on at the $1 or $2. I have no idea. I haven't been able to see that in 2 years. Maybe it's soft down there. I don't know. I can't see it. But for the GPPs, no. Well, go for it. But you're not going to see many people make mistakes in higher stakes cash games. You're not going to look at lineups and go, what does this guy think? GPPs, you could find some. So there's get your feet wet. I want to introduce some DFS soccer to you people. So I'm trying to rustle up, MMA, right? Talk about that. The same concepts that come from MLB, that come from NBA, that come from NFL. They apply to soccer. They apply to MMA. They apply to PGA. There's certain things are more important than others, depending on, obviously how the game, the DFS game, right? MMA is 6. Imagine if you had to roster 7 fighters, or different scoring system, or maybe you can stack then. I mean, like it all depends on how the actual DFS game is scored and how the contests are done, how the ownership is. But they're all the same concepts. Like in MLB, you'd stack a team. Oh, MLB, you play 5 guys from a team. You stack 5-3, and you blah blah blah. Well, soccer you don't, because the correlations between the players are lower. Correlations between the players in MLB are higher. You're still using correlation, right? Those 3 levers: projection, leverage, correlation. It's the same thing for all the sports. Just how does it apply to that specific sport? That's why I showed you goalkeeper, defender, forward goal. There's some amount of correlation, but there are plenty of lineups that you could win with just. You go like, there's no stack, and you just get the 3 guys. If there's 3 guys on the slate that get 2+ goals, just have all 3 guys do it, and then you depending on how owned they are, you may be fine. You win. There you go. As long as you score enough points. And the rest of your lineup, you're fine. If tomorrow Neil Maupay has a hat trick at 4% owned, 5% owned, and Raul Jimenez has 2 goals at 6% owned, and Werner and doesn't score or anything like Chelsea gets, 1 goal gets scored and it's from N'Golo Kante, right? A defensive midfielder. Like Chelsea failed, and you got 5 goals from 2 5% owned players. You could maybe have a 0 in your lineup. So you could win that way, just like you could in football. Oh, if you have the 2 1% owned guys that have 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, yeah. How often does a 1% owned guy end up with that big of a productive day? But it happens, and you could play it for those. Same thing for MLB. Oh, you can play all one-offs. Yeah, sure, you can. Now, how predictive, how much of a system you could have to be profitable long-term doing that way? Probably not. So you'll take the benefit of the correlation. So just like in soccer, I want to take the benefit of the correlation as much as I can. But soccer is much, much more volatile of a game, yes. But the set piece takers are much, much more stable. And that's why on DraftKings, at least, those are the players that you should be gravitating around. Doesn't mean you play all of them. You only play set piece takers and that's it. Like, no, you're pretty much playing set piece takers, forwards that are closer to goal, and fullbacks, the wider defenders. That's typically what DFS soccer and DraftKings is built around. Doesn't mean a defensive midfielder can't come out of the back for 3,500 and score a goal. Yeah, but they'll only score 3 goals the entire year. Good luck figuring out which of the three games he's going to score this year. But if you got him a punt, I need a punt play. There you go. I need 12 points. Oh, that could happen also. So it's high variance. So click on the thumbs up button. Give me the thummy thumbs on your way out the door. We got a 14-game slate. 14-game slate tonight, right? Because the cornfield teams that aren't playing today, right? So yeah, so click on that subscribe button if you're new here. Join the soccer stuff tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, right? 9 a.m. Eastern when the lines come out. And you could join RotoGrinders Premium, and I'm always available in the Discord. And you could go to the soccer channel. We have an SOC channel, and Alex, Fear My Turtle, and Sean, PSU fans, they're in there, right? They do the soccer projections and the tags. So click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month, and join up. But we got Grinders Live later today, crunch time for premium members, and then I'll be back. I'll be back on Monday. I think James will be back on Monday. So everything's back to normal, like it normally is, Mondays through Fridays at 11 o'clock Eastern for the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.